Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.
So welcome once again to another conversation here on Manhood. Let me get straight into it. Yes, another big topic. Are we all acting or are we being our authentic self? Let me say that again. Are we all acting or are we being our authentic selves? So we're going to delve into things like imposter syndrome and, moments of whether or not are we sure who we really are. No, and age is but a thing. But to my right, Johanse IODK, behavior change consultant. To his right, the one and only Michael Cherry. I so many things, but I mean the biggest I think we have so far is actor, and we'll go into that soon enough. And to his right, Niall McNish, provocateur, vibes God. So, are we acting or are we being our authentic self? Now, before we go into the topic, Michael, it would be remiss of me not to, let who doesn't know to know that you have been doing this for over 20 years in the acting and film industry in Trinidad and Tobago, and of recent
over 30 actually.
Over 30, yeah.
To age myself.
Yeah. I'm starting to dye the beard, so you're trying to roll back some of the years. Yeah. So again,
guys acting,
correct. Are we being authentic?
Before you go on, I know they describe you as an actor, but I would like to say you're a Trinidadian talent ambassador. Anybody who is take Trinidad talent from here and take it to the world, no matter what profession, even if you're an athlete, I want to say an ambassador. And I'm giving you that title because I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I appreciate
I appreciate that.
Anybody who is good enough, right? And want good enough and then think themselves good enough. And that's becoming into imposter syndrome there. Mm-hmm. Think themselves good enough to go international. So I appreciate that. My brother.
Thank you that, my brother.
And of course, we'll go into acting in itself and some of the myths and some of the beliefs and so on of acting that in itself, are you being your authentic self and how, we've seen actors in the past who use acting, especially character acting, etc., to hide behind things that they're going through. As we know, we spoke about, Meta Quest and all these virtual reality gadgets that are putting you into a particular environment or reality that's not your own. And in certain cases, actors do that. But I want to focus on the positive aspect of it first, before we delve into those things. Your accolades, as Johanse just brought up, as a talent ambassador, recently doing, having a big role in a movie in LA and taking, and flying the Trinidad and Tobago flag. So on Manhood,
thank you.
We want to make sure and recognize you for that, and of course, being here, Mike, we've known each other for a good part of that period you call. I wouldn't name the I wouldn't bring up the
stop acting
the years again.
This man.
How old are you really, Robert?
How old are you now? You're as old as you feel. Yes, you're as old as you feel. So, Michael, congratulations. If you could just, briefly tell us a little bit about what that experience was like, and then, we could sort of get into the topic.
It was really the most professional experience of my life. Getting to work with artists like that, people like, Regina King, Terrence Howard, Lucas Hedges, the late great Lance Reddick, John Ridley, who wrote and directed the movie. At first it was, intimidating, really, because you have these images, and you've seen these people's work, and completely blown away, by it. But I guess eventually you get to realize. I got to realize, it's in me as well too. That greatness is, that potential for greatness is in me as well too, and you just have to bring it. You are required to bring it. Yeah. So just being in this sandbox, in this yard that I was invited to play with all these heavy hitters.
Right.
People who, I mean, Academy Award winning, Academy Award nominated artists, and just realizing like I guess like in any interaction, any professional interaction that you're invited to, you have to bring it. You have to bring that, whether
Because you're a heavy hitter too.
because I'm a heavy hitter too. I've been, and I have to say, I have to be really honest. I just kind of like automatically went to imposter syndrome because I was kind of like going, oh well, no, that's I'm not,
Right.
and it was like, yeah, that's false modesty, right? I
Okay,
mean,
just sink or swim.
Sink or swim. You have to sink or, and yeah, there's a level of expectations in working with people like that. I mean, I'm gonna get into a little secret here with
Okay, let
big
me hear.
name actors, but they kind of don't like to rehearse actually. Them just like to come to the set and just
What
bring
are they
fresh.
rehearsing for?
Exactly.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
But is rehearsing
but-
professionalism though, and is it that they just trust in themselves to be able to?
Well, rehearsal is professionalism, but I guess it's your level of preparedness.
Gotcha.
I mean, you can rehearse and prepare by yourself, your own private homework, and then with the rest of the cast, and that works a lot in theater. I discovered in film, whereas in theater the performance is built by rehearsal with the company, with the cast, the performance is built, I realize, in film, take after take.
Okay,
That
it
is
gets better.
where, because
rushes.
the rushes and because of a film of that level of budget, where they're filming like 1.5 pages a day. So it's like, you better know your lines. I mean,
So-
and with the different kind of coverage, long shot, close up, medium, whatever, 2 shot, whatever. And take after take of each of those shots, you kind of build the performance and it becomes more true, and you discover more things, and you make different choices as an actor, and the director would come and whisper something in your ear, and you would try that. And
I like that take.
Yeah.
So did you feel like on the first day that when you got there, surrounded by all these acclaimed names, that you were less than, especially coming from such a small island and all of these are
Of course,
Americans?
I was meek like a mouse. I mean, also not being part of that culture, part of that big star, culture. There's, I would say, meek might be too meek a word, but there's a humility you have in terms of, okay, I don't know everything. Let me kind of like learn. Let me absorb and stuff. But you bring whatever quality it is you have, to the work, whether it's an empathy, a vulnerability, a focus, a sense of imagination, a sense of courage. In a way, you kind of have to have all those things.
Was it like a baptism? So like a baptism of fire, because like you mentioned, the top actors, like I always remember Tom Cruise, people saying that he'd come on the set and he was a one take kind of guy.
Right.
So as you need to, you're saying that as you take more takes, the character comes out more and more and more, based on only because of the experience and the years of doing it at that level.
Right.
They've probably had to do it less and less and less.
Right.
Whereas this is your first time coming into that environment.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's not the first time in working in film.
right, but with a Terrence Howard and a Regina
Right,
King,
exactly,
and
yeah,
a set that has all these nice apples and grapes and all these other things, and probably somebody bringing it for you in a trailer. What are some of the things that you can share with our audience that you did to dig deep to sort of settle yourself, because you would have come in knowing that with some level of imposter syndrome, but you were able to overcome that quickly to do what you did, to recognize that, no, you know what, I deserve to be here. And what are some of the things that you may have carried out to get to that level?
Well, really shifting the focus from me and how was I feeling and how was I looking and everything to what it is I want to do to my scene partner. I think that takes all the pressure off of you. And for any kind of acting, I think, what it is I want to do, how I have an objective, I have something as a character, I want something from that other character, and I want that thing from the other character by doing something to that character. So that activates you, that and so you're not thinking of, is my hair all right? You just kind of like focus. And that really kind of brings out what is needed for the audience to go from to wow, engaged.
Can I say it bring out your authentic self? Because what you said there is you came out of yourself, come outside.
Yeah.
And I realize sometimes we think everything is about us. Right? When we enter a room, sometimes nobody's studying you,
Yeah.
right? So we think everything is about us. So we have to put on this persona, put on this face and this image, but nobody's studying you.
Yeah.
And when you come out of yourself, sometimes, and when you come out of yourself and you concentrate on what you want to accomplish in the room or the scenario or the situation, then you're able to be who you truly are, because whatever skills, talents you have to bring out to accomplish your goal is who you are. Okay. So I like how you said that there, and I just put some icing on the cake.
No, but you see, Johan, what you said there really struck a chord, because that's where you really in a similar circumstance, of course, not at that level, but just to touch on between what you said and Johan said, you hear the term "get over yourself," and there are times that I go into a place really, whether it be out of cockiness or just insecurity, self-assurance. There could be positives and negatives to it. You go in and you say, oh gosh, look, this is happening, or my time mightn't be this, and you go in there, and the way I get over it is I tell myself, get over yourself.
Yeah.
No,
but who
you feel, like that people not even studying you, Brett, or really and truly they want to hear what you have to say. Depends on what you're invited for. So if you're invited to say a party, they're not, of course, you're not going to go in rags. But if you're there, you could be your authentic self and be vibes. Like vibes got here, and you go there and you could dance, and people more importantly will always remember. They don't remember what you give them or what your status is. They remember how you made them feel.
That is true.
Right? So therefore, if I could go into a room and make somebody feel good, or or bring some vibes to a party, you think they care otherwise? But what you said really touched me, because I still struggle with that sometimes, to get over myself.
The key. Go ahead.
No. Feel free.
I was just saying that the key to confidence is doing. You first time you drive a car, because you've never sat in a driver's seat, it kind of it breaks, especially if you're driving a stick, third gear, whatever, clutch, But the more you do it,
practice,
the more you're confident.
So in other words, knowledge is what really confidence stems from.
Knowledge, and I think more so practical knowledge, that you're getting your body into the thing.
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
Muscle memory. So muscle memory and knowledge are really key things, but I know we need to go to a break. Guys, we're just really happy and excited to have Michael Cherry on the set. The movie that he shot recently is called Shirley. If you haven't seen it, check it out. We'll be back from the break. So thank you for staying with us here on Manhood. The topic today is, are we all acting, or are we being our authentic self? So Johan, Michael, Niall, we're talking about really digging deep. So we spend the first segment really talking about Michael's experiences and how it sort of comes into the topic that we're about to get granular into and take a deep dive. So let me first off, we use the word quite often, and let's make sure we get the meaning behind it. So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome is the condition of feeling anxious and not experiencing success internally, despite being high performing in external objective ways. So despite being high performing in external objective ways, you feel a sense of anxiety or less than. So this condition often results in people feeling like a fraud, a phony, and doubting their abilities. So with that being said, Michael, you brought up when you said that in getting into your role, you had to go into what the purpose of you being there was in terms of and becoming that actor. So I know Johanse found it that was being your authentic self, but is that then being authentic, or you then having to be in a particular environment and say that you're something else, like put on a mask almost to be that person? So
almost
are you then still
almost distracting himself to be authentic? Is what
to be authentic
okay.
and putting on a mask, which is still yourself. So even doing that and then being great in the end, which when you look at the movie you would see, it was still yourself. So you may not feel that, wow, I sort of am a phony, I pulled this one off, but you took yourself there.
And I think that's the paradox of acting, or the irony of it. For me, in walking in someone else's shoes, in a sense, I guess, living someone else's life, because a great acting teacher by the name of Sanford Meisner defined acting as living truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
Whew, love it.
Yeah.
Love
Say
it.
that again. Say that again.
One more time to camera. One more time to camera.
I love that to know.
Sanford Meisner defined acting as living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, which we've been doing since children. When we play in Police and Thief, and
Cowboys and
Indians, Mommy and Daddy, whatever, Doctor and Nurse, whatever.
Yeah.
That we are doing that to, I guess, in a way, probably subconsciously understand what it's like to be a police, what it's like to be a thief, what it's like to be mommy, what it's like to be daddy, what it's like to be, an Indian, what it's like to be a cowboy, whatever, right? But I think in making that leap to transform and to tell that character's story, to live that character's life, for me anyway, and I think for a lot of actors, it comes back around. You kind of like discover something about yourself, because I think you have to. Well, the way I approach the work anyway, I have to find an empathetic base of that character. I have to connect what is about what that character is going through that I have gone through, or that I can empathize with, right? So in making that leap to your character, you kind of like discover something about yourself. So
does that transition into your? Do you take that into your regular life as well? Some of those things, do you not only what you find about yourself, but also in how you cope in the same way for acting, like that mask that you put on. Are you able to transition and translate that into your regular life?
Well, I think we all act. I think we all act. I mean, it's something that we probably were really good at, as I say, when we were kids playing, because in a sense, that's what acting is, playing, and playing it's been said to be the favorite way of the mind to learn, is through play. But yeah, I mean, the way you would you would communicate and hang out with the boys on the block is not the same way you would do with your wife or President Kangaloo. It's not.
So are we?
Just no. You didn't answer the question.
I didn't.
Yeah, this yes or no. He asked you a question, but the answer is yes or no.
What's the question
If you take these lessons learned or skills adapted to and adopted in acting, do you take that into your regular life outside of?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
So now that you've answered that, if you're okay with that, with regards to so is it that being different versions of yourself, and this is something I'd like you to chime in on, also what you mentioned to me on the break, being different versions of yourself in different environments, be it with Her Excellency or be it with the wife, the significant other, or your MD, is that acting or is it versions of our authentic self?
I think it's both. I think I think in a way. I'm here
Go
to
ahead.
entertain you. I think acting in a sense is discovering versions of our authentic selves.
Acting is discovering the versions of your authentic self.
Yeah.
Michael dropping
Listen,
some real nuggets
listen,
here today.
No, but you see, I don't know if some of these things you're saying oxymoronic or highly philosophical. We talked about before if it's high science.
High science.
Right?
I think it's high science because, are you being, is that then still being true to yourself?
Listen, this is really interesting, because we often ask ourselves, who am I? Who are you? Right? And I've heard so many different theories, so many different things. You are not your job. You are not your race. You are not your profession. You are not, etc., etc. But then who are you? Then there's a theory, you are the spirit, right? Not the flesh. Then you are one with God. So then you are God. Then you are so many different things, right? And I think.
What about the sum of your experiences?
Right? Yeah,
I would have
yeah,
gone
that-
with culmination of your fears.
Yeah, that to culmination of it. You see, we have so many different theories, and I'm using theories first, about who we are. And listening to it, sometimes I get exhausted. Because then who are you? Who am I? And sitting here listening to you and listening to this conversation right now, I thinking I should just enjoy myself, right? You should just
A short life,
enjoy yourself.
You're not here for a long time.
Right, exactly.
But authentically, and here's where I get in with authentically, meaning that however you choose, this is a personal thing. This is not anybody's judgment on you. However you choose to interact with the world should be your authentic self. So if, as you're saying, with your wife, you interact a specific way, with your child, with the president, with the etc., etc., you choose. Not that somebody tell you how to do it. And there's my caveat. It's not that society say a husband's supposed to act a certain way, so you doing that with your wife, versus you choosing how to interact with your wife. You choosing how to interact with the president. But it's all you. So then you being that line you use just now, I can't remember it now. You're learning yourself through acting. I simply find it. You said the way you discover yourself is through playing different ways.
Him, Michael, remind him. You're learning yourself through
Freestyle
acting.
that.
Well, freestyle that. That was an ad-lib there. That was an ad-lib there.
Good thing it's being recorded, but I like that. Discovering yourself through acting different roles. You choosing how you want to interact with the world. You will discover yourself, and
But
I realize
I
that.
feel like we're skipping a step simply because it's one way to interact with the world, how you want to, right? But if you're ignorant to yourself, like as in it have men who treat their wife horribly.
Nah, but that's how you'll find it.
But you don't know better.
Your upbringing, you don't know better.
You have no clue of.
You can't pray or religion if you don't.
Exactly.
If you don't know about the religion, you can't say, well,
So-
what
Well,
I'm
but then that's still your authentic self, because that's how you discover yourself, by being you. If you pretend, right? Because if you're ignorant of something, then you could only be that. You can't be anything else.
Agreed.
Right? And in acting, let me not say acting. In
Yeah.
being your ignorant self, that's how you'll discover knowledge.
So let's change it up a little bit then. We start off by saying, are we all acting or being our authentic self, right? So how about we taking your point about if ignorance of something is still being your authentic self, because that's all you know, and you don't know any different, and therefore, if somebody asks who you are at that point, that's what you know.
Right.
So if you grew up in a culture and environment of treating women a specific way, or having a certain outlook, or choosing a particular religion, right? That is you, as far as you're aware, that is the world, right? So maybe we should be asking ourselves, are we being our best self? So you might meet, because your authentic self is not necessarily your best self. So if you go on a path of searching, then in that search, say that you left that particular country or that environment, you might realize that, wow, okay, hold on, these things aren't okay. And therefore, if you then choose to still continue down that path, that could still be your authentic self, but it's not being your best self. But if you then self-actualize and become something that is seen, whether it be in the world or your feeling or your spirit or to the Almighty, then you become your best self, if that's your journey, if that's what you decide.
Okay, so let me ask a question, and if that's the case, because we're talking about imposter syndrome, and there are excuse me, reactions from anxiety. You get anxiety, you have imposter syndrome, but you act on this anxiety that might have you treating someone horribly, because now I want to feel more like a man because I'm feeling smaller.
But that isn't a man. That isn't a man.
No, hear him out.
What I'm saying is, I am now feeling smaller because of my imposter syndrome, right?
Right.
To correct that mentally for myself, I have to swell up bigger or treat someone in a way to make myself feel better, right? Which is a horrible way.
Horrible.
In his head, however, he's unaware that I am going through imposter syndrome right now. He's only feeling the anxiety or whatever is going through his mind and he's just trying to rectify that moment. Now, for me, that person is pretending or acting or putting on a face, right? He's unaware that he's doing it, but he's doing it all the same. So I can't use that as, how can he internalize, okay, maybe let me just be a better version of myself.
Nah. Listen, I love this conversation.
To be a better man.
Because, okay, you're ignorant of something. You're ignorant of being an imposter, right? Imposter syndrome. So in the moment, you can't self-correct because you don't know.
Right.
But you're reacting to what you feel. But what you feel is real.
Correct.
So then you're not acting. So if you're correcting for it, so in the moment, I'm using your
What
example.
you feel is perceived.
Nah,
Well, it's real to you. It's real to you.
Listen, I feel
Based
it's how
on what you
is this how
Fair enough.
Plato and Socrates and then when they having the conversation
Yeah.
used to be, it's songing. All right, so I hope you're still here with us. This is what I'm taking from this, and this is not my ending. I taken from this is that we only have choices. In every situation, we have a choice. And we have a choice. The choice could be based on different factors. Factors sometimes from outside or inside. So external versus internal locus of control. And I think a good definition coming from this is being your authentic self means it comes from an internal locus of control. So however it is expressed, we can't predict that and we can't necessarily judge that from the outside. But if in a moment, let me use your scenario, the guy not feeling much of a man, and he don't know why he not feeling much of a man, so he does something violent or abusive. He is being his authentic self in that moment. Once it is, that's his decision. So it's not that mommy tell him do that or his partner tell him do that. He chose to do that. Even from his limited scope of knowledge, he is being himself. What y'all think about that?
You know, just going on what you were just saying there, a lot of psychologists say, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that the mask can also be, whether it's that private mask or public mask, is the coping mechanism. It can be referred to as a coping mechanism.
I agree.
So, like, if you were, say, for example, raised in a violent home, and you kind of encounter conflict, whether with yourself or you might want to people please, you might want to kind of like pacify, or you might want to fight, or you might want to run, right? Away from the conflict. So again, I mean, and again, a lot of that is is learned from our formative years, from our childhood years. You know, what is the coping mechanism? What is the acting? If I am passing through customs with something that I should declare and I joined in not declare line.
We've all we've never done that.
We speak for yourself.
But you know, you're raised in a household where, you know, if you had anything contraband, you know, from, you know, pornography to drugs or whatever, and that you know, your parents would react in a certain way. If they found out you had such contraband things, you know, you might put on that coping mechanism or that acting for the customs officer when
you connect with
that.
You connect with how you get past mommy back in the day.
Yeah.
And you just use it.
Listen, this is really interesting.
Yeah,
because you say coping, right? So lying could be a coping mechanism, right? And we could argue because you're lying, you're not being your authentic self. But if you choose to lie and you use lying as a technique to get what you want, then are you being your authentic self? Because if I know I don't need to, if I don't declare and I put on a sad face, I just give you an example, I will get what I want. Then it could be argued I've been more authentic self. But then maybe if I lie, again, and that's why I'm saying this interesting, because what I'm seeing here is, and the question is, are you an actor or being your authentic self? And this is manhood, and we're talking about being a man, right? Being your authentic self as a man, I think, really important, because that's how you discover who you are. And before you want to, this is me, my opinion, before you want to provide and protect for a family, you have to know who you are. Because if you're discovering that while having the pressures of like you say, a wife first, then a child, right? That's in itself, because your wife will challenge you.
For sure.
Right? And I think that's what a woman there for, to challenge you, to make sure you're your authentic self. So if you don't know who your authentic is, or at least have a great idea of it, your wife will mash you up. Right? Or any woman actually who, and the thing is, even especially when they care about you, they will mash you up. Far less a child. A child will ask you some questions and notice some things, right, that you think you're hiding, and a child will see, because a child to me is a lot more emotionally intelligent than an adult. So I'm saying, as a man, know who you are. And to do that, even though you may not know everything, at least you're expressing yourself authentically in the moment. It could be wrong, right? But at least there's a saying, it's better to be sure than to be right.
So we have to go to a break. And I want us to think about this during the break, and to our viewers and listeners. If you're lying and you know that you're lying to do it, you're being your authentic self, yes. But again, are you being your best self? Are you being the self that you really want? So even though it's authentic, it is you at that point. Is it really who you want to be? You know, do you want to be that liar? Do you want to be in that position? So that's something to think about. We take a short break. When we come back, we continue to talk about, are we all acting, or are we being our authentic self, our best self? Think about it.
Welcome back, everyone. We are here on Manhood, and we are talking about the authentic self versus acting. What is our true selves, and what is the self that we are, pretending, putting on a performance for, right? And of course, I'm here with the boys.
Robert Johansson.
I like the boys. Really, the boys.
I like the boys.
The men.
You were speaking at the break about you were telling us about Tony Hall, because as we try to really have an understanding of this mask that we put on.
Right. Yes. Tony Hall, God rest his soul, had a really amazing theory with regard to Trinidad culture, with regard to mass culture in Trinidad and Tobago, where he said that for 363 days of the year, we are playing a mass.
Okay.
Whether that mass is doctor, lawyer, teacher, postman, whatever. And for Carnival on Monday and Tuesday, that is when our true authentic selves come out. Whatever, you know.
So in other words, when we put on the paint and put on the costume or the mask or masqueraders, right? That is us actually getting the opportunity to be our true self.
To be our true selves, to play ourselves.
Because is it because we get to be unseen at that moment? Is it that we can't be recognized?
I think very true for Juve. For Juve, when we cover ourselves with black paint and mud and so on, and there used to be actually an old time saying where in Carnival, someone from the street would come up to you in your masqueraded self and say, "Mas, I see you," or "Mas, I recognize you." You know, even though you're
any regalia is still seen.
Yeah.
I catch you.
I catch you, something like that.
We talked about a lot about acting and authentic self, and you know, from your experiences on the global front at that level, you know, in its purest form, which is actually acting. And then we brought it back to how it relates and connects in our lives, and on a general, you know, having a general idea of imposter syndrome and what that means. But what about here in Trinidad and Tobago? How let's talk a bit about how we in Trinidad and Tobago wear these masks and how that's
Let's long. First of all, we have a word for it, mama guy. First of all. That's what.
yeah.
Hey, boy, I try to be like you when I grow up, boy. All that is just, you know, that's just bullshit that we just tell each other.
Yeah.
We have a real kissing culture here as well. Very people pleasing. And maybe that's why.
Passive aggressive.
Very passive aggressive. Very, very
True in
passive
words.
aggressive.
True in words.
Unnecessarily so. And it's
No,
always
not necessary.
being passive aggressive.
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Because, so this is my theory. Because a lot of our history, so using the slavery part of history, Trinidad and Tobagonians, I don't know if to add Tobagonians in that because they had a slightly different history, right? But let's use Trinidadians for all intents and purposes. We were passive resistors. We weren't active resistors. Like how Jamaicans were the active resistors. Haiti was active resistance. So we have a culture of being passive resistance. So we like, you know, we showing you we like you, but we doing it in a smart way. We doing it in a way that not obvious. We beating around the bush with it, which of course we see now from Calypso, right? You know, all the Indian
double
back,
entendres.
right? To
The
now
social
even
media comments.
even soca. So to memes. So now we are meme factories for being passive aggressive. So being passive aggressive is also putting on a mask, right? Not really saying what it is, because I don't know. Sometimes you be passive aggressive and it go over the person's head. Because there's so much height you use, the person don't even know what you're saying. And here the thief is, we get vexed with the person when they don't understand what we're throwing in the corner now, right? And
Read
when
between
you
the lines
said
kind
it,
of thing. It's like,
which is dotishness, you know.
But in a way, sorry to cut you.
But
a
are you
lot of the
sorry? Are you really sorry? Was that you being passive aggressive? Like you're cutting, but you're not really sorry about it.
I don't care now. I'm going to talk. I'm going to talk.
Correct.
That's what we talking about.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Thank you.
That's what we talking
That's your
about.
authentic self.
Thank
Don't
you.
say sorry. Yo, I'm cutting you. I have a point to make right now.
But you know, actually, I'm going to cut across the point. I'm going to cut across now. Which is, I remember there was a scene, there was an argument scene between myself and Regina that to me was like the hardest scene for me to shoot, because it was a scene where we was like literally talking over each other, literally, and you know, nice middle class, you know, CIC educated, you know, Catholic boy from, you know, we don't do those things.
You had to throw the CIC, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you're from one of the other schools.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's part of my authentic self.
Okay, yes.
But we don't really. I mean, maybe we do. Maybe I'm in a bubble or something. But of talking over each other kind of thing, I was, you know. So like when Regina used to just, you know, kick my ass all the time. It was like, you know, It's like, Michael, you're not getting any lines, and it's like, back, and she talking. This is Regina King. This is Regina, she talking. I was just going, you know. But to the point, the original cut, which was the what you're talking about, we come from or the people of African descent who came here and became creolized like everyone else. We came from the Yoruba tribe. Mm-hmm. The Yoruba tribe is very proverb, very kind of
teachers, counselors.
Doing it in a very kind of like a parable kind of way. Anansi came from the Yoruba tribe.
Perfect.
Right? So that is probably in our DNA.
Yeah.
So,
passive-aggressiveness.
is that where the whole thing now comes? Because we see many things happening in Trinidad and Tobago. We're not going to call any names as to what those things are, but we have a culture of almost like the people, where we say we like it so. So we're being passive-aggressive to other people, and we ourselves are not doing anything about it, but we are angry with people for not doing anything about it, and we are following in the same suit. And we turn around and say, yeah, well, we like it so, and, Carnival will come around, or, another elections, or, and, have rum and roti and all the rest of it, and we just move on with life as it is. Complaining, sending memes, because, we are meme mafia.
Yeah,
we are the best in the world. Within seconds, we've turned over some of the best memes with regards to something, and in that passive aggressiveness, nothing is actually done.
We didn't adapt because during slavery, passive resistance had its value because it was a way to send signals without the slave master knowing, etc. But we no longer have the slave master. It's Trinidadians running Trinidadians. So me being passive-aggressive to Trinidadian will only lead him or her to be more passive-aggressive. And then we passive-aggressive and passive. Yeah. And then notice us, we so passive, nothing happening.
For sure.
Nothing happening in the country. Right? And knowledge is power. So the fact that we're highlighting it, nothing happening in the country because we all skirting around the issue. We're not saying this is
We're not saying what we truly mean to each other.
And we feel.
And another thing that was the opposite of imposter syndrome.
Confidence, recognition, self-belief.
It's called the Alan Turing syndrome, where we overthink or we think that we're actually better than we are.
Is that narcissism?
No.
So, there are probably other ways.
Sorry, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Oh.
And it's contrary to the imposter
Somebody went
syndrome.
Google.
And it's characterized by an overestimation of one's abilities due to lack of self-awareness. And I think a lot of Trinidadians have that.
So let me just touch on what Johan said before you cut him off, which is okay because if you thought your point was more important, that's why we do have to say sorry. Because if your belief is that, but I am saying, but I will choose not to be cut off because I want to make a point. I see you, Regina, and
I'll raise you a
I'll raise your Terrence Howard. So my thing is it then because we know things are happening, we know what the crime rate is like, and this is not, again, this has nothing to do with governments and all the rest of it, right? Let the chips fall where they may. This has everything to do with every single person is responsible. Every single person must take accountability and ask themselves, what am I doing? Don't keep asking what is somebody else not doing. Ask yourself, what steps have I made? Have I given my 100%? And then after that, then I can look to try and see what somebody else is not doing and figure that out. And is part of that because our culture very much so is everything is a joke. So you see a short person, a tall man. You see a fat person, skinny. A person with no teeth. You have all of these things. That we just, we find fun in everything.
I'll call you good looking.
Well, correct, but that's you being your authentic self, and that's your feeling. Now, whether that is Kruger's or whatever syndrome, that puts another perspective. But just know that I'm a red man.
But I think
for whatever that means.
It's done in
the
Kruger.
connotations. But yeah, I mean, it's really interesting how, you know, we can glean all these things from our culture because it's cultural. It's the way we do things. You know, it's the way we feel about ourselves or feel about each other. You know that we can glean imposter syndrome and its opposite,
Dunning-Kruger.
Dunning-Kruger, syndrome from that. So yeah, again, I think it boils down to self-awareness, knowledge of self. Is something like is Pekong malicious? Is Pekong necessarily malicious?
Today is bullying. Today, it's called bullying.
Bullying, right? Yeah, it's I guess it can be. Is sweet talk harassment
Or manipulation.
Ed, what you saying here, I starting to feel exhausted. Let me tell you why. Because sometimes it is good to explore things. I agree with that. But this is Trinidad culture now I coming with. I personally tired of hearing people talking now versus doing something. Remember, we started this by finding your authentic self is doing, right? It coming out.
Talk is cheap.
Coming out. It has things that I hear since I was a child in Trinidad that we're talking about, right? I remember, I think it was Dominic Calipos had put up an article where the government at that time, and it was, I think it's one newspaper, say, water for all in Trinidad in 5 years or something like that. Clearly, of course, right? That was before I was born. So that 5 years passed.
I don't know
gone.
about clearly. I don't know
Right?
about clearly, but okay.
Right.
We take your word for it if you're being your authentic self.
Yes, I've been more authentic self, right? I did not die in my beard, right? So,
That's my authentic self.
so what I'm saying is that you see this talk, I'm tired of talking. So whether we acting or not, whether we choosing to be an actor or authentic self or not, as men, we should have a goal. Right? As Trinidadians, we should have a goal that we accomplish it. Whether we acting or not, the country, should be moving forward. Right? Whether we however we doing it, we learning to be ourselves or not, we should be moving forward, but we're not moving forward.
I
Right?
disagree with that.
Yes, you could disagree because I made a blanket statement and I could say we're not moving forward in some ways and moving forward in other ways.
So I'm happy to
thank
see
you
you
for
giving
that.
permission to disagree.
Yeah. Everybody have permission. You don't have permission to do it, but everybody have permission.
This
to
is
disagree.
Dunning-Kruger himself,
My thing is that at a personal level, everybody as a man too, you have a goal for yourself. Because Robert, you said being your best self, right? So you have a goal for yourself, whatever that goal is. No judgment. Finding methods that I guess closest to your authentic self, that you're not hurting somebody in the process, you're not damaging other people. Sometimes it's not the intent. You may hurt someone, but once your client has not hurt someone, you accomplish that goal. And then as a family, you could do that. As a group, as a et cetera, but as closest to your authentic self as possible, because even though there are some people who would look to others for their accountability. Their truth is, I don't want to do anything. I want you to do it. And if that is the truth, just say that. Say, you know what? I just prefer to stay in a corner. I leave in you to do it. At least I know now where I stand, instead of pretending that you're doing something and you're not doing it. Because at the end of this conversation and this discourse, what I want to take from it is something is being done. Right? Or not all this acting or not acting. At the end of the day, something we accomplish. Tell me your thoughts.
So before we go into that, because we are drawing to our close, and I know we have our closing thoughts and so on to say, but a couple of things, as we spoke about people pleasing and part of a mentality in doing that, and forever where it may lie that allows us to be in certain levels of mediocrity. I was looking at a couple of things, and they say even as a child, from the parent or that person's community, they come home with a drawing, and they said, what do you think of this drawing? You go, great, wow, that's so awesome, and you think somehow that you're giving that person encouragement to continue, and nobody's saying that you should not encourage, because you don't want to say, well, that's crap, and then totally, have the person distraught and not wanting to proceed, but you have to find ways to reverse it. And in our society, now that we know better and some of the science is the way to do better, so it's almost like now, what do you think of the painting? and hear what they think, right? And then for whatever they think, then you can reassure them based on that. So if they go, well, I like it, then say, yeah, well, that's really good. So that they don't, their automatic thought every time they do something is not looking to be people pleasers, not looking for that assurance from somebody else, not looking for the validation. They themselves are aware of what they're about and what they want to accomplish, because it might be your best, but it might be their best, and they can be okay with that. So one of the things I wanted to ask you, Michael, we asked, people on the in this conversation to get your perception and interpretation of what it takes and what it means to be a man.
I think what it takes and what it means to be a man is realizing your fullest potential. Whatever that is, whatever speaks to you, whatever, you're drawn to, what realizing that fullest potential and knowing being part of that fullest potential is the knowledge and the appreciation that you're not the only person on this planet.
Okay.
Right? That part of the responsibility of realizing that fullest potential is not just for you, but also for the community, and and for the betterment of that community. And that community isn't just a human community. It's you're also part of the natural world.
And if you can take that thought into what you felt about this conversation here today, and your closing thoughts to the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
Know yourself. Know yourself. Part of embracing your authentic self is knowing yourself, being self-awareness. Self-awareness in all of its light and dark sides. Just being aware of yourself, and in making, like Johannes said, making choices, making better choices, as sometimes as uncomfortable as it feels, to make better choices so we can have a better society.
I'm going to jump in here just to say that, in my closing thoughts, to say that, and I'm going to freeball this one here. Okay. I know you like that word, and ad-lib it. To say that, life, for me, the way I look at it, we don't have all the answers. We don't know, I simply don't know what I'll be 3 days from now in terms of what experiences may change the perceptions or thoughts I might have had. Like on Manhood, we talk about it all the time, that during the show, the many shows, that we start off with one opinion and then leave, not always having the same opinion, but altered in that feeling, like, okay, well, maybe you give me a lot of perspective here, and I might either agree at the end or disagree, but still respect. So for me, I try to look at it like a book, that every time, every book, every page is a different part of the overall story. It's a part of that story. I don't know what's on the next page because I've never read the book before. But I still continue because the book is interesting. The book is what I decided to do, decided to live my life by. And bottom line is, I will only know what that is when I come to the end of that book. No page is like, unless it's a duplicate, no page is the same. And in order to give yourself the best chance, make sure you pick the right book. Because knowledge is power. And if you don't want to be a particular way, as we spoke about in previous conversations about community, then choose the right book. If I'm to use that as any sort of analogy, just be you. Be you, be the best you that you can be, and take each step, each day at a time, and more importantly, don't beat yourself up when you fall. Just know that you want to get back up again, because you know where you want to end up, and to be your authentic self. And if you have to act along the way to get past that day, because this too shall pass, then that's okay. That's okay. No judgment.
Okay, I feel I will jump in here. I would say don't act at all if it is you have to get past the day. As someone who struggle with depression, it's very easy to go into a mode of acting to make others feel better for themselves, because you're trying to protect other people. And what happens is that over time, you may get lost in that character that you've been building up for so long. You actually forget who you are. Mm-hmm. So remember to ask yourself those tough questions, and what you're actually trying to avoid is the responsibility of being a better person. So sometimes it's just easier to go into acting. So that's why I would say not opposite, but try not to act. It's okay to rub people the wrong way a couple times, just for a little bit of self-actualization sometimes. So keep that in mind.
We can't control what others think or feel. We could only control what we think and feel. We could only control ourselves. And if you feel like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, it's better to do. As we discussed, it's better always to do something. And in the action of doing something, you will discover yourself. What I'm saying to this is, you wouldn't know the future, as Robert, you're saying you don't know what on the next page. So I think in your choices, it's better to be sure than to be right.
And
this has been Manhood.
And while you're reading the pages of your life, enjoy it. Because that is the book you chose. That the book could only be the book. So take it away.
This has been Manhood. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate it.
I appreciate
Robert,
you.
I appreciate it. Niall, right? I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody helping us as we help you become the best version of ourselves, and we discover who exactly is our authentic self.
Manhood, brought to you in part by Reboot Sports Drink.